So I read 119 books in 2021, and these are my 5 favorite nonfiction publications from that year. Welcome to Books and Big Ideas, what I'm reading, what I'm thinking about, with Joel Wentz. Okay, I did another video of my 5 favorite works of fiction that were published in 2021. Here are my 5 favorite works of nonfiction, and out of that 119 books, 77 of them were nonfiction in total, and then also, they weren't all published in 2021, but also out of that 119, 33 of them were published in 2021. So in the Venn diagram overlap of the ones that were published in 2021 and were nonfiction, these are my 5 favorites. I'm going to do one more video of just the whole rest of the books that I read, the ones that were published before this year, what were my 5 favorites. But these are the ones that are nonfiction that were published in 2021. They all happen to be works of Christian books, either theology or biography or history or something, which I read quite a bit of non-Christian publications too, but it just so happened that these are the ones that rose to the top this year for me. So if you're not a Christian or not interested in Christian publication, this may be less interesting to you, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, here we go. In a couple minutes, I'm going to highlight each of them. The first, and I have hard copies here actually, the first is Andy Root's The Congregation in a Secular Age. I did another video of why I love this trilogy so much, so I'm not going to say too much more about it. You can just watch that video if you want. But this is the final book of the trilogy. I love it. It's a work of practical theology in terms of taking really abstract concepts from people like Charles Taylor and then the theorists Hartmut Rosa, theories on cultural criticism and time and how we interact with time and all that stuff, but then bringing it into theology, and in this case, the work of ecclesiology in terms of how should the church function in our age. Loved it. It's great cultural diagnosis, cultural theory, interaction with philosophy. It's excellent. So I love those books. I love this entry. Number 2 is Daniel Williams' The Politics of the Cross. This is a little bit of a more under-the-radar book that I wish more people knew about. It's one of the most nuanced, respectful, thoughtful books on how a Christian should think about hot-button political issues, and he doesn't shy away from any of the hot-button ones. The chapter on abortion, for example, is just outstanding. It's very level-headed, calm diagnosis, but also a confident argument. So if you are interested in politics, and especially in our divided, polarized time, and you're a Christian in particular, highly recommend Daniel Williams' book here, Politics of the Cross. Number 3 is one of the best biographies I've read in a long time, which is Win Collier's A Burning in My Bones. Eugene Peterson is a hero of mine, kind of a faith hero of mine. I love learning more about his life and his career and what he did. And this biography is superb. I've also read Peterson's memoir called The Pastor. And so I went into this being unsure if I would even really, quote, learn anything new. But I was so pleasantly surprised. There's so much new in here. The way the story is told is beautiful. It's deeply respectful, but it doesn't shy away from some of the rough edges. So this is not a shallow hagiography. This is a really thoughtful biography of an important person. So A Burning in My Bones is just outstanding. Number 4 is such a fun history study, Reading Evangelicals by Daniel Silliman. I think I'm saying that right. This book hit me. So one thing about this book is I bristle a little bit at how books like this sometimes get pitched as the explanation of evangelical subculture, or the silver bullet explanation of what's evangelical means or who is an evangelical. This book can be pitched that way. It's not that. So just know that. But what it is a really great historical study of a specific layer of evangelical culture in America, and that is the interaction of evangelicalism and Christian fiction publishing. And particularly, I'm 35. If you're around my age, a lot of the books in here are going to hit you, or the books that are studied in here, like Left Behind, the Frank Peretti books, The Shack. I mean, this stuff is just was in the atmosphere when I grew up. And he does, I think, a really, really winsome and scholarly, solid job at kind of examining how did these books highlight different aspects of what was going on in the broader culture at the time. Really insightful, fascinating. It doesn't hold the mysteries of the universe, but it's really a good study, and that's reading Evangelicals. Liked it quite a bit. And then lastly, maybe my favorite, I'm not sure, is Abraham's Silence by J. Richard Middleton. This came out near the end of the year. This is a powerful study and interpretation of the disturbing story of Abraham and Isaac in Genesis 22. Most people, even if you're not a Christian, a lot of people are familiar with that study about God telling Abraham to sacrifice his son and what happens. And Middleton proposes an excellent, outstanding, wonderful interpretation of that story. That it's not playing loosey-goosey or creatively with the text. It's actually deeply faithful to what's in the text. It's a rigorous study, so it's not some fanciful fairy tale. He really did his homework in getting into the text, and it's a great interpretation. It kind of liberates the text in a way, liberates a disturbing story from a lot of tradition and history that's a little troubling. So I loved Abraham's Silence by Middleton. So those are my 5 of my favorite nonfiction books published in 2021 that I read last year. So I hope that was of interest to you. Maybe you found something here that intrigued you, that you would like to check out. If this sparked other recommendations you'd like to propose, then go ahead and post them below. I'd love to hear that. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on these books if they're ones that you have read. So I'm going to do one more video in this kind of my favorite books of 2021 video series. Thanks for watching.